Hello, in this video I'm going to show how I built this walnut and concrete coffee table.
I start by assembling a simple mold out of melamine sheeting, and this mold is going to be sacrificial. I'm going to disassemble it once the concrete is cast. This is a common method too for casting concrete furniture. I'll link some other tutorials below. To keep this from being just a boring gray rectangle, I bought this chunk of walnut for 40 bucks on eBay, and I'm going to try to cast it into the concrete. I cut it to the size of the mold, scrape the extra bark off. I do leave a little bark because I want that look, but I don't want it to flake apart. And then I add some screws to either side of the plank to secure it into the concrete. Next, I apply Minwax to the edges of the mold and then go over that with silicone caulk. And this is going to seal the mold, keep any cement from getting under the piece of walnut. And then to make these edges clean, I go over all of the silicone with a Sharpie, pressing it into the edge and giving it a nice radius between the two walls. The Minwax that I applied in the first step lets me peel off the extra silicone, leaving just a nice clean radius. Mold's ready, so time to pour some concrete. And immediate regrets. So I've never mixed concrete before. I didn't really know what I was doing. I tried to mix it on the back porch, and obviously I didn't fully mix the concrete. I really should have bought one of those attachments for your drill to properly mix the concrete. I ended up just hand mixing the stuff in the mold in my apartment. I don't recommend doing this, but this is what I did. And the concrete I'm using is just the standard countertop mix that you can get from Lowe's. I'm not using anything special like fiber infill or any of the fancy types of concrete that some people are using for furniture. The one thing that I did do is add some dye to the mix though. I just got some gray dye and that kind of swirled around to give the surface a little bit of texture. This whole casting process was kind of jank. I used coat hangers for reinforcements. I ran out of concrete midway through, so I threw an extra board into the mold in order to displace the concrete to be level with the edges. And in general, I had pretty low expectations when a couple days later it came time to remove this slab from its cast.
Alright, so I removed the sides of the mold and the finish looks like it's pretty good, but I haven't yet seen the top surface of the table. I'm installing these metal legs that I got on Amazon, and I'm using concrete wedge anchors for that, so I'll show how that's done right now.
I've never mounted anything to concrete before, but it turns out it's not that bad. You start out just by drilling pilot holes into the concrete. In my case, they're just 1/4 inch. And I've just got some tape on my drill bit to make sure I don't go through to the other side. If you've never seen a concrete wedge anchor before, here's what they look like. You slot them into the hole, and then as you tighten the nut at the top, it pulls this bottom piece open. So it actually increases in diameter, spreads open, and that secures this into the hole that you've drilled.
Alrighty, so it's done, but it weighs 160 pounds.
To avoid chipping the edges of the slab, I screwed on that one side of the mold to protect it as I flipped it over.
All right, let's see how this turned out.
When I first revealed the concrete, I was not very happy. But I figured I could improve it through finishing, so I got to work sanding the edges so they had a nice bevel, and then smoothing that chunk of walnut, which had embedded pretty nicely. And then to seal the concrete, make it waterproof and stuff, I applied a concrete sealer, link in the description for this. You first wet the concrete slab, and then you apply a 50-50 mix of concrete sealer and water, and over a 5-minute period, you gradually increase the concentration until you're applying just concrete sealer. You keep the slab wet for that entire 5-minute period, and the finish in the end is waterproof and a lot smoother than the raw concrete. And now we're to the last step. The only finish I had on hand was the Minwax, so that's what I finished the walnut with. And this ended up being good because it has a kind of a nice matte finish, not too glossy, and I think the raw wood goes better with the concrete than stained wood would have. I did leave the air bubbles along the edge of the slab open. I did not fill those in with extra concrete, and I kind of like that industrial look. The liquid dye that I'd added to the mix and swirled around gave a bit of a marbling texture to the top surface of the table.
Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed that. And if you are subscribed to me, you know that I don't really release videos very often. I make like one a month. So if you don't want them to get buried in your feed and never seen, if you could hit that little bell icon down there, that'd be super helpful. Thanks, and have a great day.